Is Warren Buffett predicting a slow recovery for the US markets and the US dollar? What is happening, investors? It is your boy Jack. I am not a financial advisor. I got the hoodie to prove it, people. And today we're speaking about Warren Buffett buying some Japanese stocks. But first things first, guys, we have to say a big happy 90th birthday to one of the greatest investors of all time. He was single-handedly my biggest influence when I first decided to get into investing. Although Buffett's been making some questionable decisions and has been somewhat contradicting himself as of late, I still have the most respect in the world for this man, and I respect everything he's ever done. But when I woke up this morning, I found out that Warren Buffett had purchased stakes in Japan's 5 leading trading companies worth roughly 5% each. And I was a little bit surprised, to say the least. The amount of money put into these companies combines a total of somewhere in the range of 6.25 billion to 6.75 billion. Probably a little bit less. And Berkshire has said that it bought the holdings over the last year through regular purchases on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. So we're seeing this. We're seeing Warren Buffett buy some Japanese stocks after very recently buying into Barrick Gold, a gold related stock, after bashing gold a lot in the past. We're also seeing it after he very recently has sold big portions of his beloved bank stocks. I mean, this is the man who I think was more bullish on banks than anybody else for the large majority of history. And let's not even start to mention his general lack of buying over this massive market dip. When you start trying to connect the dots, to me it looks like Buffett doesn't have the most confidence in America right now. And Buffett has always had a lot of confidence in investing in America. There's just been a few little weird decisions made out of his corner, in my opinion, but that's what we're going to speak about today. As always, we're going to try and connect the dots. So right before we get into the video, guys, could I please ask you to hit that juicy like button, as it really helps me in the channel out. It would mean an awful lot to me. If you're new around here, hit that juicy red subscribe button, people. Join the family. It's completely free. And please do drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this whole situation with Warren Buffett. Anyway, guys, with that being said, into the juicy information. So first of all, let's see what Warren Buffett actually went ahead and bought. So Berkshire acquired holdings in Itochi Corp, Marubeni Corp, Mitsubishi Corp, Mitsui & Co, and Sumitomo Corp. I don't know how to pronounce these companies. And he bought them over a roughly 12-month period through regular purchases on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. And they've acquired a slightly more than 5% stake in each of the 5 companies. Based on Friday's closing prices for the trading houses, okay, a 5% stake in each would be valued at roughly 6.25 billion. So we can expect that they put a little bit less than 6 billion into it realistically. Berkshire says it intends to hold the investments for the long term and that it may increase its holdings in any of the companies up to a maximum of 9.9%, obviously to keep below that 10% mark, depending on price. So I mean, it's not exactly like it's the weirdest thing in the world. You're allowed to buy companies from different regions. I'm not invested in any Irish companies, but it is a bit weird, guys, seeing Warren Buffett do this. Honestly, I'm not too interested in going through the actual companies, but we'll do a really quick recap on each of them. So Itochu Corp. First thing I noticed, dividend yield of 3.12% and a PE ratio of only 8.85. We all know that the average PE ratio in the S&P 500 in the US market in general right now is way higher than where it's traditionally been. Warren Buffett is what a lot of people would refer to as a value investor, so he may well just be looking for, you know, some more value-based deals right now, and this looks like one of them potentially. So this is what the business looks like: resource development, procuring ingredients, manufacture, processing, wholesale, retail and service, and the list goes on and on. They're in textiles, machinery, energy and chemicals, etc, etc. But we look at it to Itochu, and I mean, the average volume is 8,726. On the 6-month chart, we are steadily uptrending. They have that dividend yield that Warren Buffett loves to see. They have a decent profit margin, a decent return on equity and assets. It is what it is. We have Marubeni Corp, has the leading market share in cereal and paper pulp trading, as well as strong electrical and industrial plant business. And again, we can see a dividend yield, a big dividend yield of nearly 5.5%. They obviously have negative earnings, so there's no PE ratio. And on the 6-month chart, we can see that they're still down 10%, and it is after a near 10% jump yesterday. We have Mitsubishi, okay, up 7.72% close on Friday. 6-month chart still down 5.7%. Again, a big dividend yield of 5.25% and a PE ratio of 9.27. See, the value play is coming in. They employ over 79,000 people, have 7 business segments including finance, banking, energy, machinery, chemicals and food. Mitsui & Co, okay, up 7.35% Friday's close. 6-month chart, these guys are actually up over 10%. Again, a dividend yield of 4.18% and a PE ratio of 10. I think Buffett is just looking for some value plays and he's simply not finding them in the US. They cover energy, machinery, chemicals, food, textile, logistics, finance and more. These companies all do very similar things. And then we have Sumitomo Corp, okay, up 9% on Friday's close. Still down about 10% on the 6-month chart. Again, a dividend yield of 5% and this one actually has a PE ratio of 34. But again, they do very similar things to everybody else. So that's a little bit on the 5 companies he's actually buying. In my opinion, it just looks like to me he's looking for some value plays that pay decent dividends, which of course is fair enough. But the fact he's not looking for these plays in the US is definitely a little bit odd to me. Now, these trading houses have helped grow the Japanese economy and contributed to the globalization of business there. But as they have extended their footprint overseas, they've also become more vulnerable to global predicaments like the financial crisis from a decade ago. The trading house also face increasing competition from venture capitalists and private equity funds. Now, to counter that, Berkshire also said that despite its large yen-dominated bet, it would have little exposure to currency fluctuations because it holds 625.5 billion of yen-dominated bonds that will mature at various dates from 2023 through 2060. So that's a very similar amount of what they've actually put into these companies. And also, guys, about $6 billion is not the most money in the world for Berkshire Hathaway. It's not a massive investment by any means whatsoever. Now, a few more things I want to show you that I find particularly interesting. If we take a look at the Nikkei 225, it's a stock market index for the Tokyo Stock Exchange. So on the 6-month chart, they're up 8.41%. The S&P is actually up 13.5%. The 1-year chart, the S&P is up over 20%, and the Nikkei is up just over 12%. On the 5-year chart, the Nikkei is up 30%, and on the 5-year chart, the S&P is up over 82.5%. So again, it's quite odd to me. It's just quite clear that the S&P and, you know, the American market in general is beating the Japanese market. I also want to show you guys how the US dollar is currently stacking up against the Japanese yen. So on the yearly chart, there actually has not been all that much change. It's down 0.7%. It was very briefly down very close to 3%, but it shot back up and was actually up over 4%. But on the year, all in all, it's not much different than break even. If we look at the USD Euro, it's down 7.6%. I'm very up to date with this one because I obviously invest in Euro as I am from Ireland. The dollar has been getting weaker and weaker against the Euro, which means that my investments have been going down to an extent even when they're going up. And it also means that I technically get paid a little bit less from YouTube, but it's okay. But the US dollar is doing poorly right now. It really is that simple. And the Japanese yen's also doing poorly. If your particular currency is doing quite weak, it might make some sense, you know, put it into some businesses whose currency aren't doing as poor. But Japan's doing pretty much just as poor right now, at least in relation to the euro. And it is really difficult to predict what the dollar is going to do over the short term. I'm going to keep bringing this up in nearly every video for a while. Jerome Powell announced new Fed approach to inflation that could keep rates lower for longer. So this happened last Thursday, and Powell announced a major policy shift to average inflation targeting, which means that for a short period of time they will allow the rate of inflation to go above 2%. Now, it's hard to know exactly what this is going to do in regards to the currency's strength, but it would say to me that we can't expect it to get much stronger very, very quickly in the next, you know, however many months it is, however many even years it could be. And I do think that things like this are, you know, a part of the reason why Warren Buffett is not only, you know, selling out of some of his bank stocks, when he has always said things along the lines of, you know, betting on bank stocks is like betting on America's success, and why he's also getting into the mining company Barrick Gold Corp, when he has absolutely bashed gold times so many times in the past, and now we can see him getting involved in some massive Japanese companies. It's all just a little bit odd. Now, with all that being said, Warren Buffett knows 1,000 times what I know. I'm just trying to get a grasp of why he's doing this right now, because a lot of what he's done these last few months has been very contradictory to what he's said and what he's done in the past. But let's also remember that $6 billion to Berkshire Hathaway isn't really that much. I mean, it's nothing to write home about for these guys. When you do understand the kind of investor Buffett is, a value investor, he loves intrinsic value, etc, etc, these Japanese companies may well make more sense than a lot of the US companies out there right now, simply put. But it is just something I wanted to speak about a little bit, just to bring it to your guys' attention in case you weren't aware. I just find it really weird how he's acting and how Berkshire Hathaway is acting in general. So ultimately, do I think that Buffett is, you know, really betting against America? No, because the stake is quite small. This wouldn't worry me in any way whatsoever. What would worry me is the lack of money they are pumping into US owned stocks right now. I mean, the fact that they essentially completely missed out on the major market dip is worrying, especially for the man who said one of my favorite quotes ever: be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. But anyway, guys, that's just a quick update on what is going on with Warren Buffett. So guys, if you have watched this video all the way till the end, I really do appreciate you. I hope that I was able to give you some value and insight into what is going on, and if I did, could I please ask you to hit that juicy like button if you haven't yet. And of course, you, my friend, are a true legend. If you watched till the end of the video, you officially are a true legend. That's just the way the world works. If you're new around here and you did enjoy it, please hit that subscribe button as well, guys. It really helps me out. And drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the whole situation, because it is a little bit odd. All in all, guys, I don't think there's too much to worry about, but we do have to keep a close eye on what Warren Buffett does, just because he's so influential. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day, people. I will see you for the next video. Peace.